Her content gets everyone moving.
It's a temple art form. It was done by Devadasis. It's like, oh, so no one does it anymore. It's like that's not true. We still do it. But you just said it was ancient. I was like, okay, I need to show them rather than just talk about it.
She sings classical and modern with style. NewsX influencer A-list proudly recognizes Harini Nilakantan for influence in groovy content creation. Welcome, you're watching NewsX Influencer A-List. I'm Aarti Krishnan. I have with me Harini Nilakantan, who brings classical and the beauty of classical art into fusion, and she creates content on the digital space. Let's have a conversation with her that I'm sure is going to be very interesting. Welcome to the show, Harini. We're really glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me, and I'm beyond excited because even before we started recording this, we had some nice points. So let's get into this, yeah.
Right, of course. Harini, all right, I'm going to start by asking you, tell me a bit about your classical roots and where it comes from. How long have you been practicing Bharatanatyam?
So I started at the age of 4 under Guru Srimati Sujata Raghavendra when we were living in Bangalore. And we had to move to Pune around 2005. That's when I switched gurus and I kept learning. And I finished Varangetram under Guru Srimati Usha Rahul there, Pananallur style. Then I aimed to continue, but again, dad's job took him places. So we went to Chennai and I started, and I still learn under Guru Srimati Roja Kannan. For a brief stint, I was under Guru Shri Adyar K. Lakshman, may he rest in peace, and I got to learn Kalakshetra's basics, Kalakshetra's roots. So I started off with one style of Bharatanatyam, and then I moved to another Kalakshetra style, and I still continue under that. But I still want to explore the other styles of Bharatanatyam and see how I can flesh out my knowledge of it, my theory of it. I've been learning, yeah, for about, well, I'm 22 now, so that's like 18 years. Yeah, I've been learning for 18 years.
Wow, that's incredible. Speaking of styles of dance, Harini, when did you decide that you were going to show that Bharatanatyam can be modern? That it is not an age-old tradition that is probably forgotten about. It is, in fact, a very versatile art form. How did you then think of displaying it online in the way that you do in the form of fusion?
So this is really funny. I've been thinking about it for a long time. And I think it started when I first came to the States. I was about 14, and there was a talent show, right? And we had to present something, singing, dancing, whatever, just a jolly thing in high school. Um, so I noticed that all of them, whenever they talked about dance, they only spoke about ballet as classical. I was like, no, when I say Indian classical dance, I don't mean ballet. I mean Bharatanatyam. It's a temple art form. It was done by Devadasis. It's like, oh, so no one does it anymore. It's like that's not true. We still do it. But you just said it was ancient. I was like, okay, I need to show them rather than just talk about it. So I was still practicing dance, obviously, but for this talent show, me and another friend of mine, their name is Sonia, and we got together. They did ballet. I did Bharatanatyam. So we did like this little call and response piece between two different classical art forms. And finally they were like, oh, wow. Okay, so this is still a living art form and you can fuse it with other things and it'll still hold its own. It started then and I don't think I've stopped. And quarantine just like amped it up further because whenever there was any trends on any apps, TikTok, Instagram, or anything, doing the same dance over and over again gets boring even for the consumers, even though it's fun for some trends that still last these days. I thought maybe I have this I have this talent of mine that I've been sort of honing. How about I push my boundaries and then also push the audience's boundaries if I can, somehow be true to Bharatanatyam, but also add a little bit of spice to the trend so I can bring in some of my culture. And therefore, everyone's happy, everyone's not bored, everyone's also curious and know more about what's going on the other side of the world. So that usually they're really ignorant about what's going on this side. So.
Right. So, Harini, your career path that you were telling me about, in terms of what you're going to do further in life, also ties up to how you're going to bring out Indian roots, how you're going to then ensure that Indian culture is properly represented. Tell us more about that.
So, for context, I'm studying museum and exhibition studies as for my master's. And this involves representation in like what is you can call a museum a colonial artifact in museums in the States, at least in Western museums. So when it comes to South Asian art and representation, it's usually either just statues or ancient artifacts that have been acquired or taken or bequeathed through a lot of colonial trade and doesn't really have any context to why it's here, how it's here. For example, the Met Museum had some pieces of jewelry from South Asia and South India specifically. It was like a Jaranagam, some nut, some bangles, and you'd see this every day in, say, Sukra jewelers back home in India, right? And in a dance performance or a bridal jewelry. But there was no context to why this was there. As in, even if they gave the context, it was really superficial, surface level, doesn't really talk about the art history, where it's come from. Like the tombstone, we call the text box in the museum a tombstone, wasn't really well informed. And the labeling, I was just not happy with. So the more I did research, the more I spent times in museums and I saw South Asian art, I was like, why is it always either ancient art and it's always the same type of ancient art? Statues, temple statues, Buddhas, Ganeshas, Natarajas, nothing else. South Asia is not just India. South Asia is a lot of countries. And also there's contemporary art. Desi creators are still creating art to this day. Diaspora included, and the people who are in these countries of origin, right? So when it comes to museums, when they have to represent South Asia, why are they always putting us in a box? And how can we break out of that box? How can we make the museum, which is an educational and also an entertainment institution, do its job as both an educational and an entertainment institution? I do that as a creator with my art form. So why can't I do that with my knowledge of this art form and
Right.
my familiarity with art? So my BFA degrees allowed me to research art from different countries. Why not art from my hometown or art from my neighboring countries? Like Pakistani artists also are so prevalent. So are Nepali artists. So are like Bhutanese artists. Like the representation is unfortunately minimal, even though there is a platform for South Asian creators. It's not enough. There needs to be more. So that's
Right.
my aim.
Picking up on that point, Harini, how do you think that your digital content creation, in terms of your fusion dance, in terms of you showing, how versatile Bharatanatyam is, with how it, can go with the music that's not usually traditional in terms of Bharatanatyam dance? How do you think that has changed the way people view Bharatanatyam in terms of people outside of India as well as within India?
So the one major thing that I keep seeing is it looks beautiful. Right? The lines are beautiful. It's mesmerizing. It's these movements capture your attention, and this doesn't necessarily come from me executing those moves. There are other moves that have been taught down and traditionally and then drilled into my head. Right? These artworks on its own, they are so beautiful, and they can be used in a myriad of ways to tell stories. The stories does not have to be Kirtanams always. The story does not have to be only myths that we learn as a kid, right? So dance for me is just a universal language. Music is also a universal language. If a beat is catchy, everyone catches on, right? So if it's like this metronome beat, what stops me from doing something hip hop or something VNet? Both of them are pretty much rooted in how can we take music, shape it, and then how can our bodies move to it? So for Bharatanatyam, it's not like you can only move a certain way and you're only allowed to move to this music. If you look at Bharatanatyalaya, that's my dance school on their Instagram, some of my peers do this. They're taking in famous songs, right, Doja Cat, and they're adding in their own dances and nuances to it. And so it's like take this trend, make it be that. It doesn't mean that we're trying to showcase that. Yeah, listen, we're still here. It's not like an ancient art form. No, we're having fun with the tool that we have in our hands. And dance and music, they go hand in hand. No pun intended. They go hand in hand, right? If you understand the beat system, if you understand the bass, if it makes you move, if it makes you want to just get out of your seat and just groove to it, why not groove to it with a different art form? If they can do ballet to a baby song, they can do Bharatanatyam to a baby song. lyrics don't always make the song. Sometimes it's the other aspects of it, right? They get caught in, oh, these are promiscuous lyrics, you shouldn't dance to this. Well, you can also remove the lyrics and dance to the instrumental version. The impact would still be the same. So I feel like they shouldn't dismiss Bharatanatyam as just, oh, it's classical, they have their own sets of rules, it's too rigid, they won't
Speaking
ever
about
evolve.
that, Harini, there's also another aspect where,
Mhm.
especially art forms that have a lot of rules, do you then face flack in terms of, breaking from those rules because they are pretty rigid? So how do you then do that seamlessly?
It is not easy to do that seamlessly because there will be purists who will be like, "Oh, you're sullying this art form. It's meant to only be devotional. It's meant to only, evoke feelings of uh, spirituality." And I disagree respectfully. They can have that opinion. However, this art form has evolved for so long. It didn't start off as an only devotional art form. It's also been performed by courtesans, devadasis. It is sensual. It has so many nuances over there. While there's devotion, there's also celebrating the femininity of the body. There's celebrating the inner beauty, celebrating the body.
Finally, Harini, I wanted to ask you: is there a difference then creating content in terms of dance? From doing it on stage and then doing it for digital, how do you then compare the two for yourself?
There's a world of difference. Both of them involve performing. Like, when you perform, you should perform the same way, whether you're on stage or you're for camera, because in the end, it is a performance, right? You're putting on a show for a person watching on their phone or a person who's like so many times I've said person watching you on stage. So the difference being, on stage, I have one shot to do this. When I go on stage, and if it's live music, if I mess up on stage, I mess up on stage. I have to just recover, keep going. However, I have the privilege and the ability to delete that video, redo it over and over again, taking multiple takes. It gets exhausting because sometimes you might feel yourself getting staler and staler as the takes go on. And also, there's the what's a good lighting, what's a good angle. People's attention span sometimes does not last more than 30 seconds, so you have to get to the main hook at the get go in the first 10 seconds. How do you do this? So the choreography needs to be modified a little bit. However, I noticed if you take a video recording of a stage performance and put it on, it still does well because it's mesmerizing. The stage sort of just sets the scene for everyone that this is a performance. They're elevated up there. You're watching them be at their best, doing their best, entertaining you. And online, you have the tough job of, if it's in my bedroom, I'm pretty much in the same situation as you are. If you're scrolling on your bed and you're seeing me with my bed in the background, you want it to be slightly engaging. You want it to be a little different than, okay, why is she famous on this app? Why are they famous on this app? Why did this video get likes? Happens. Stage performances sometimes they'll be like, okay, she's on stage for a reason. They put her on there for a reason. I guess the previous show must have been better. This might be an off day. You will find people excusing a performance aspect on stage a little bit more. They're a lot more lenient than they are.
Right. It was so great having you on our show, Harini.
Thank you so
And,
much.
it's been such an engaging conversation with you. Kudos to you and all the very best.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.